There's a little thing that happened just last night. Fox News was all over it this morning. They were startled to hear it.
This is a Fox News alert. We have just learned, as Carly was talking, that Dick Cheney has died. We're learning more information as we do. We will continue to pass that along to you, of course. We just literally got this information a few seconds ago.
He was chief of staff under Gerald Ford. He was former Secretary of Defense under George H.W. Bush. He went on to be vice president for 2 terms with George W. Bush and is considered the conservatives' conservative.
They're saying that he died last night at the age of 84, and we just received a statement from his family.
The former vice president died due to complications of pneumonia and cardiac and vascular disease.
Dick Cheney, former vice president, dead at 84 years old, to the surprise of Fox and friends there this morning. As they pointed out, I mean, he had heart issues and all that. He was the first guy before the current president now, where people are counting down the days. And even Don Rumsfeld went before Dick Cheney. So Dick Cheney has passed away. And as you can imagine, there will be tributes all day to Dick Cheney. Trust me, there are going to be tributes all day to Dick Cheney. This is more what Fox and friends had to say about that standard.
He was somebody that could withstand a great deal of criticism, be unflappable under pressure. He was a perfect Sunday show because he was able to defend whether it was President George H.W. Bush or George W. Bush in controversial times.
Yeah, Brian, I think we have to talk about the elephant in the room is with him being side by side with former President Bush during 9/11 in Afghanistan and the wars there. And because he was known as a tactician as well, a big loss for the country as well, dedicated his life to public service and was known as a hawk on the Republican side of the aisle.
He was an American politician. He is the father of Liz Cheney, who went against Donald Trump, as you know. I don't think he ever spoke out against Donald Trump, but he was part of the old guard of the Republican Party.
Lawrence Jones pointed out the elephant in the room when it came to Afghanistan, and I'm not sure if he mentioned Iraq. Those wars that Dick Cheney was very intricate and integral part of starting, continuing, and justifying, which is why, Brian Kilmeade was talking about how he was unflappable in the face of criticism as he stood next to W. Bush. I guess it's been enough time because people forget who Dick Cheney was and why so many people were waiting and saw that he got his new Iron Heart and were like, damn it. That was a time when that was happening as well. But we've moved on so far to this level of fascism under Donald Trump. People start to see, rainbows and flowers surrounding Dick Cheney. But really fast, before I get to that stuff, Ainsley Earhardt did point out one thing. She goes, and we do remember, of course, I mean, his daughter, Liz Cheney, she did go against the Messiah, Donald Trump. And, but the thing is, right now, we're sanitizing Dick Cheney. So we have to make sure that we point out that he never went against the Messiah. He never went against Donald Trump, is what Ainsley Earhardt said. I guess, no, I believe her. She probably forgot.
In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He is a coward. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. He lost his election, and he lost big. I know it, he knows it, and deep down, I think most Republicans know it. Lynn and I are so proud of Liz for standing up for the truth, doing what's right, honoring her oath to the Constitution, when so many in our party are too scared to do so. Liz is fearless. She never backs down from a fight. There is nothing more important she will ever do than lead the effort to make sure Donald Trump is never again near the Oval Office. And she will succeed. I am Dick Cheney. I proudly voted for my daughter. I hope you will too.
I guess Ainsley forgot about that part when he called him a coward and said that he wouldn't lie to his people about things. Ironically, Dick Cheney did a lot of lying to his people about things. Very important things that he did a lot of lying about. One of those things, which wasn't as important, I guess, but it's definitely serious, where they were on some duck hunting or quail hunting trip. Do you guys remember this? I'm not sure if you guys are old enough. I'm starting to show my age. But Dick Cheney done shot his boy in the face. I forget the guy's name.
13 years ago today, Vice President Dick Cheney shot his hunting buddy in the face. Look at that headline. Duck, it's Dick. Cheney was quail hunting with Harry Whittington in Texas when he accidentally fired his shotgun, not realizing it was pointed at Whittington. Well, needless to say, this was an embarrassing distraction for the White House. Cheney called it one of the worst days of his life. Thankfully, Whittington did recover from his wounds.
And as folks may do when they're hunting, sometimes they have a few beers. And there was speculation that Dick Cheney, accidentally shot his boy in the face. And of course, there was a huge story and cover up to deny that is exactly what happened, because that'd get that guy in trouble. But anyway, okay, that was one of the lesser important things that is Dick Cheney was all about. I'm just gonna go through a couple things because Zateo over there, Zateo News. I'm not sure if you guys know about them. They broke down some things about Dick Cheney. Here's what they pointed out about Dick Cheney that most news organizations are going to forget today. They point out, like, fellow war criminal Slobodan Milosevic, Cheney should have died alone in a prison cell in The Hague. But like the rest of the gang behind the invasion of Iraq, George W. Bush, Tony Blair, Don Rumsfeld, Cheney never faced any legal or even political accountability for his war crimes over the past 2 decades. In recent years, though, he even became a hero in some liberal and Democratic Party circles after denouncing Donald Trump, as we saw, and endorsing Kamala Harris for president. Yet, the Bush-Cheney administration between 2001 and 2009, one of the worst in American history, overseeing skyrocketing deficits and tax cuts for the rich, the abuse of executive power and the politicization of the Justice Department, the Hurricane Katrina debacle, and of course, the global financial crisis. We do forget about those things, but I feel like we always point out all of the old Republicans that set the stage for this fascist Republican administration that came in, where they pushed the boundaries all the way up to the point of they, of course, created a high level of demonization of Muslim folks in this country, which led to many attacks, and also folks having that division that we still see today. That was all going on during W's administration, where, as many people pointed out, Cheney was running the show. Here's more from Zateo. He said, but it was the so-called war on terror and the illegal invasion of Iraq, based on lies about weapons of mass destruction, that Cheney must be remembered for. It was Dick, more than W, who was the driving force behind one of the bloodiest wars of the 21st century. Cheney was a hawkish ideologue, one of the most belligerent politicians of our lifetimes, despite dodging the Vietnam draft on multiple occasions. It was Dick, more than W, who was also the unapologetic architect of America's post-9/11 torture regime. I just think we should remember these things. Yes, there was the torture policies that was going on during W's administration. We saw some of the images of American soldiers torturing prisoners there. We also saw, again, I just want you guys to remember some of the thin connections between these two. What we've got now and what we had then. There was made up information about these weapons of mass destruction. It was debunked all later once it was way too late, and when millions of people killed over in Iraq and Afghanistan over these wars that were started under those false pretenses. We're seeing now a current fascist in the White House who's trying to start more wars off of false pretenses. We just need to finally learn our lesson. As the Zateo article pointed out, he also dodged going to Vietnam, similar to the guy that's in the White House right now. As we saw, Dick Cheney sanitized himself a bit. His daughter was on the January 6th committee, which thoroughly and effectively, I think, dug into everything that Donald Trump's connections had to do with trying to overturn the government. So she did the right things there. So I get some of the criticism sometimes people have for embracing the Cheneys at the back end of his life and the back end of her political career. But we can also see what it is that Cheney did.